I'm Scott Allen Millers, the 3rd of June, 2023. This is my vlog of daily life living in Nicaragua, and today we're going to be tackling once again the issue of litter and trash here in the country, something that people mention quite often when they watch my videos. Not when I'm here in the garden, but when I'm out walking the streets, which I haven't been able to do too recently. We're going to do that again soon. People have been requesting that. Yes, I'm going to get out. The season is here for it, but we're going to talk about litter and trash today, not until after the bump. Okay, so litter is a major issue here in Nicaragua. You can't get around it, and there's no candy coating it. This is possibly the single biggest issue that we have in the country, and it has been for a long time. We've been talking about it here on the channel for 2 years. When we first got here, I did some videos that tackled what are the biggest problems in Nicaragua, and right at the top was trash, and that trash is mostly a problem because of littering. It's not entirely. They are two separate issues, and they kind of go together. You got to tackle both independently. The biggest issue with littering is this. It is the culture, and has been for a very long time. This is not going to change overnight, and you can't just point to any one thing, that people will get anything, right? You'll have a paper bag of something, you'll have plastic trash, you'll have a soda can, whatever, and you watch people and they'll walk along and they'll just drop it on the street. They'll just throw it on the side of the street. They'll just anywhere. If you're on a bus, they'll just toss it out a window. If you're in a car, they'll throw it out a window. They'll literally drop it as they walk. They'll just fall out of their hands. There's no particular placement. Does everyone do this? No, but a huge percentage of the population does, and especially if you ride the chicken buses, you will see it happen nonstop. It's basically a predictable thing. Someone gets on the bus with a big thing loaded with snacks, they hand them out, and invariably a bunch of those snack bags that was holding the snacks or the drinks or the straws or whatever just go right out the window. No one wants to deal with it. The windows are always open because it's always warm. You always want some fresh air, so the easiest thing is to not move, and especially because the buses are full, it's hard to move around the bus. The one thing you always have access to is an open window, so that creates this never-ending culture of that's what you do. In more recent times, we have noticed that waste baskets have begun appearing on the buses and are becoming more and more obvious. We've also noticed in some isolated places like Matagalpa, which is much cleaner than here in Leon, that there are warning signs that littering comes with a fine. The smallest fine, I believe, was 500 Cordoba, which is around about $15. And the biggest was 50,000 Cordoba, which you can, do the math. I think that's $1,500. That top fine came with $1,500 and could seize your vehicle, right? Presumably if you're littering out of a vehicle. That makes it a really big fine, right? So in isolated places, some pretty big effort is being put into dissuading littering, but in most of the country, it's been pretty much just accepted. And all the expats, everyone who's looking at moving to the country says the same thing. This is my number one concern. I don't know how you live with it, and admittedly, it is awful. However, it is also awful in neighboring countries. If you go to Honduras, you go to Costa Rica, you're going to see the same thing. Maybe not as bad, but you're going to see the same thing. It is not especially any different. So don't be shocked that this is a regional problem. It just is what it is. And if you remember, for those of you who are old enough, which is a pretty small number of my audience, well, it's at least 25%, the United States was similar in the 1960s and 1970s. We now look back and don't remember litter so much when making historic movies, right? If you go back and watch movies that were made then, people tend to shoot them in places that were clean. And when we go back and recreate those things, we don't recreate litter. But if you go back in your memory, for those of us who have it, the 1970s, for me, was a time of litter everywhere. The idea that you didn't just litter was something that the United States worked extremely hard to educate through television programs and ads, through pamphlets, through the school education systems, and through levying incredibly hefty fines to make it very painful for people who got caught. And they encouraged people to turn other people in. If you caught someone littering, they deserved to get fined, right? That cultural change took a number of years, but it did work. Now Americans are generally appalled by littering. We have no pity for anyone who does it. We will turn them in. We will be glad when they get caught. All of those things have worked out really well from that perspective. It works extremely well to educate people in that way, and the fines have worked. And we recognize that there are cleanup programs that must happen. We use prisoners we all know that prisoners are sent out to clean up the roadsides. We all know that there are volunteers to clean up the roadsides. We know that there are sponsorships to clean up roadsides. Not just roadsides are not the only place with litter, but they are a place that tends to be pretty visible. And we now really look for those fines to help fund government programs to keep things clean. That we levy hefty fines really does help provide for those resources. So the United States did a lot of work to make this work, and Nicaragua is just starting to look at that. What's important, the reason I'm making this video now, is that we just found out that in the last few weeks, some existing laws that have been on the books that are anti-littering and do provide some penalties and guidance for the police in dealing with littering, but mostly have gone unactioned until now, are now getting a lot of priority, and those laws are being pushed forward as things that need to be enforced very strongly. And so quite suddenly, buses are being held accountable for people throwing things out of windows. People in cars, you can be pulled over. They have ways to identify. It goes to the mayor's office. So if you let someone borrow your car and they litter, you as a car owner are on the hook. These are potentially big fines that can be coming, and the police will come looking for you. This is not something that we've considered to be an actual thing that would happen not very long ago. And suddenly, this is what people are talking about. You get onto the bus, they're telling people, no, you can't, you gotta. Here's where the trash is, you need to use it. They're gonna eject you from the bus, right? Because they're gonna come after the bus companies. So this is really encouraging. So many of you, and me, myself, and when Kat was here, right, we all talked about the litter problems, and the litter problems create garbage problems. Why are you going to clean up garbage when there's just litter everywhere? It doesn't make any sense, right? Why are you allowed to just dump things but you're not allowed to take care of your trash? No, that doesn't make any sense. So this is the first step. You have to get the random litter gone so that you know where your trash is. Then you can tackle issues with your trash. It's just the order of things. The next thing that they need to do is then, figure out how to control the trash that is being swept away by the water. Because floods, we talked about that there may not be floods that you have to worry about, but there is a lot of water that goes to the cities. This tends to pick up loose trash. That loose trash that it picks up is not litter. It's mostly from dogs. Dogs will grab bags of trash and rip them open because they're looking for food. And until we get that trash out of the streets and up where dogs can't get to it easily, and a lot of places have dealt with this, they have things to put trash in, but not everywhere. Not everyone can afford that. Not every region has that. Not everyone has access to that. So little things at a time, but we can identify that and fix it. But until we get rid of the litter, there's no reason to clean up after the dogs. Once we do that, then we can centralize trash collection, which we already have, but we need to make it actually something that people use, that if they find out they can't litter, they can't just throw their trash on the street, it has to be collected, then they'll do it, right? It is free, it is available everywhere in the country. We'll do some episodes to talk about how it works. Some people have asked questions, but it's very straightforward. There's very little to explain. And then that can go to central processing facilities. Then we can address how it is processed. After it's been collected, we can deal with one thing at a time, but you can't do it in the opposite order. So this is the first real step. Nicaragua is making a real move to cleaning up the country, as they have made in the last 2 years massive moves towards better infrastructure of roads, better infrastructure of internet, better medical facilities, new parks, all these things to make the country so much more beautiful and public and forward-facing. Now it's time to tackle the litter. And I'm so excited that this is the thing we're up to, because this is what Nicaragua needs. This is the thing that will change it. So many people look at Nicaragua, and the thing that you can't get past is the litter. There's no hiding it. There's no explaining it. There's no waving it away. It has to be tackled by the government. It has to be a concerted effort. The people have to get a Keep Nicaragua Clean. And you will notice in the last month or two, a number of comments have begun to pop up on my channel saying, not exactly these words, but basically keep Nicaragua clean. And that's what we need. We need people stating it. This is my country. I love this country. I want this country to be clean. I want this country to be beautiful. And trash on the side of the road doesn't contribute to that. That is exactly what we did in the United States, and it worked. People take pride in their country being clean. My county's cleaner than your county. My state is cleaner than your state. Well, the same thing's gonna happen here. My city's cleaner than yours. My departamento is cleaner than yours. And my country is cleaner than the neighboring countries. We can make that happen. I'm encouraged to see the first steps happening, and all of you who are here in Nicaragua, all of you who are coming to visit, keep this mantra going, keep the pressure on, keep supporting people that this is something that will work. It is not a pipe dream. It is not impossible. It is a tried and true methodology to get people to change their behaviors, to get out there and make them take pride in the places that they live and see litter as a thing that goes against that pride. It requires both things. You have to be proud. That's not so hard. But seeing the litter as a problem when you've grown up with it and it's how it's always been and you have to make a life change to get rid of it, that takes more work. And that's where we are. We're going to make it happen. Mia supports me. She is excited about the cleaning up of the trash. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. If you'd like to get more information on how you could relocate to or get guided tours of Nicaragua, spend time on the phone with someone to go over options, questions you might have, shoot us an email, info@relocatenicaragua.com. As always, share on social media, tell your friends, post a link on Reddit, post it on Twitter. Get the word out there that there's a show talking about Nicaragua, travel, relocation, all these things, just keeping you up to date on what's happening. And I will see all of you tomorrow.